Believe it or believe it not, everything which is important about science is on the next slide. See, this is our world, at least a part of our world. A tiny village in the Alps, blue mountains, green hills, a church, some houses, some trees. This is what we call the object under study, or the empirical referent of our propositions about the outside world. This is what, in other terms, we call the operational reality, the world outside in which we carry out and do all our operations. And now, that's we. That's a researcher, an observer, somebody taking interest in the world, somebody trying to talk about the world, using concepts, of course. So this is an observer, a researcher, with his research question, his research interest. And of course, this observer is looking from a certain vantage point to reality. He has a certain perspective. He doesn't see everything. Imagine somebody else standing not close to the street, but on the green hill. This person has quite a different look of reality. Reality looks different. Although reality, the empirical referent of our scientific propositions, has not changed in a slightest degree. Look at the next one, standing on the blue mountains. The world looks absolutely different from him. And he will use quite different concepts to describe this part of the world that he or she is able to see. Look at the one at the roof of the church. Again, the very same piece of reality looks absolutely different. And now look at this one, standing behind the green trees. The world for him is full of trees. There is nothing but trees. A concept like a church or houses would not make any sense to him, because in the world as he sees the world, there is no church, there are no houses, there is nothing but trees. So, what did we see so far? We saw that everybody who takes a look at the outside world does so in a very particular perspective, which gives him a biased perception of reality. Reality always is the same, but it is seen differently, and we will talk differently about the very same reality. There are different perceptions of the same object, or as we put it, there are different perception realities. Some of them will be quite useful, others will be quite useless for the purpose for which we look at the world. For instance, if we want to see how this church is built inside, out of which historical period the interior of the church comes, well, standing behind the green trees will be as insufficient as standing on the roof of the church. We have to get inside. And this means, since every look at reality is one in a certain perspective, that is shaped by a certain pre-theory of what might be important about the world, therefore we have to assume responsibility. Responsibility for our position in the world, for the perspective we take towards the world. We only get biased and selective pictures of reality. We always talk in different languages, even about the same reality, and therefore, once again, we have to assume responsibility for theories and concepts. So, what do we learn from this slide about how scientists behave and perceive in our world? Well, theories are perspectives of the world, perspectives taken by ourselves. And depending on the perspective we have chosen, we see different things differently of the world outside. We have to assume responsibility for our ways of looking at the world, for our ways of talking about the world. And we have to do so by deliberately choosing our theoretical approach and by carefully choosing those notions, those analytical categories those concepts that subsequently will work as those lenses through which we see different parts of reality differently, and even the same parts of reality differently. And this is why we always have to control for the perspectiveness and, as its companion, the selectiveness in which we look at the world. And we should try to overcome such perspectiveness and selectiveness by wandering around between the different perspectives, from the green hill to the blue mountain, onto the roof of the church, onto the street. And we should gather experiences, and we should overlay these different pictures of reality which we get, and we should work with different concepts in which we describe different perspectives of the world. And of course, we should also be able to reliably share what we see in a systematic way with others. And for this purpose, a guidebook on where to go and where to look around might be helpful. And hyperpolitics is nothing but such a wonderful and welcome guidebook.